In a massive operation spanning multiple states, law enforcement agencies from Assam, Kerala and West Bengal dismantled a suspected terror module linked to Bangladesh-based terror outfits Ansarullah Bangla and also the Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent, or AQIS. The operation, named Operation Praghat, was led by the Assam Police Special Task Force, or the STF, and resulted in the arrest of 8 individuals. The network, which included sleeper cells across the country, was allegedly engaged in recruitment, indoctrination and plans to incite violence and disrupt communal harmony in Bharat. 8 terrorists, including mastermind Nur Islam. The module was planned, they had planned attacks across Bharat. The module was in the process of collecting arms. The operatives were in touch with elements in Pakistan and also in Bangladesh, and these were all their handlers. And according to the police, the module planned to kill Hindu leaders. The big crackdown was conducted under Operation Praghat, and your channel has reported with exclusive inputs on how the radical churn in Bangladesh is aimed at destabilizing our country, especially after Sheikh Hasina's exit. Now, there's been a resurgence of Islamist extremism, which is a grave threat to regional stability. UNICEF's leniency towards radical groups, including a ban on the Jamaat-e-Islami, being lifted, and extremists have been allowed to resurface with impunity and also reorganize themselves. Bangladesh is home to several radical groups, including the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is Bangladesh's biggest Islamist party. Radical Jamaat has seen significant influence in Bangladesh. There is Harkatul Jihad linked to the various terror activities. Harkatul Jihad, or Huji B, received funding from Al-Qaeda. Hizb ut-Tahrir was banned in 2009. It continues to operate underground, involved in various radical acts. Ansar al-Islam Bangladesh, branch of the Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent, AQIS wing. Ansar al-Islam is involved in various terrorist activities. Neo-JMB is a splinter faction of the Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, and Neo-JMB is involved in various terrorist activities. Even the External Affairs Ministry, in a press briefing a short while ago, reiterated that agencies are acting tough on all security challenges and that such issues had been taken up with Bangladesh on Foreign Secretary's recent visit. The West Bengal STF has also confirmed that the chicken neck was the target. So what is chicken neck? Let's try and understand that very clearly. And this is the area which is called the Siliguri corridor. Now, this is how illegal influx from Bangladesh can actually happen, and it can destabilize Bharat. It's a very, very narrow area, and that's why it's called the chicken necks. That's the reference. This is the Siliguri corridor, and the elements were wanting to try and create trouble here somewhere so that all of Bharat, rest of Bharat, can be disconnected, delinked from the rest of Northeast Bharat, Northeast India. So this is the one that links and connects us, and that's the reason why the Chinese, the Bangladeshis, there have been many entities who have for many decades eyed this particular region, and that's what the Bengal ATF says. Their eyes were targeted at this. There was an intention to try and foment trouble and somewhere disruption so that this area could be chopped up or blocked altogether. And these machinations have happened even in the past via the PLA. Dr. Anand Ranganathan stays on with us, Sushant Sareen also with us, but let's quickly play out the reactions first.
सुरक्षा को लेके जो भी मसला होता है, उस मसले को बहुत ध्यान से और पूरे चुस्ती के साथ उससे हम लोग निपटते हैं। हमारे एजेंसीज हैं, जो अथॉरिटीज़ हैं, उस पर अपनी गतिविधियां कर रहे हैं। जहां तक सुरक्षा की बात है, बांग्लादेश के साथ हमारे बहुआयामी संबंध है। बहुत सारे मुद्दे इस पे बात किया जाता है और बहुत सारे इश्यूज हैं जिस पे हम लोग बातचीत करते हैं।
It is very clear from these arrests and the way these modules were being set up that they had been, targeting, they had been set up with a specific ideology of causing disruption in the country, target of Siliguri corridor, which was mentioned over there.
Let's go across to our guest, Sushantji. Dr. Anand, namaste, and thank you very much for joining us here in this discussion. Dr. Anand, of course, stays on with us from Debate 1. But Sushantji, this is worrying. Bengal STF says something, Assam STF busts this entire module, these elements are all there. There are many who have that eye on the northeast of Bharat for different reasons.
Yeah, and Anand, that includes one of the advisors of the chief advisor of Bangladesh, who in his Facebook post talked about, annexing some parts of India. And then, of course, he must have been told that don't be an idiot. And he deleted that post, but at least we know his mindset, and we know the mindset of the current regime in Bangladesh, which has actually allowed many of these terror groups to operate with impunity. Many of these terror groups are now coming out of the woodwork. Forget about Islami, which is the mothership of terrorism, but also a whole lot of other groups like the Ansarul Islam Bangla. Those guys are coming out. You spoke about the new JMB. All these fellows are coming out. You've just yesterday or day before, you had one of our former ministers who was responsible for the Chittagong Arms Hall case with 10 trucks which were designed to go to insurgents in the northeast. That guy has been acquitted by the High Court. I don't know what kind of judiciary the Bangladeshis run. Well, I guess we know what kind of a judiciary it runs. And you have this Nobel Peace Laureate actually hugging their former genociders in Pakistan and opening up the field for the Pakistanis to play in Bangladesh. So it's a deadly cocktail which is developing. And I am not very sure if the kind of protest we might have launched today or the kind of statement that has come out from the MEA is going to be enough to turn the tide of Islamist terrorism coming into India from Bangladesh. We know that some of these groups were also operating below the radar screen in the past, but now they have a kind of a safe haven. Now they are operating freely. Now they are demonstrating on the streets, calling for the genocide of Hindus. They are openly operating on the streets of Bangladesh, calling for waging war against India. And doing all kinds of other stuff. So when you have a situation like that, then for it to spill over into India, which is going to be the target, is par for the course. But I think what is important is that at least in this particular case, the Indian security agencies have acted with alacrity. They have picked up these guys. I'm sure they'll try and bust. Not just the module, of course, has been busted, but the networks will be busted. And that is something which is good also because you've got cooperation from two states which are run by opposition party governments, Kerala as well as West Bengal.
See,
whatever politics might be going on, at least on issues of national security, if there is that level of cooperation, then I think that needs to be welcomed.
But if you look at the entities. Sheikh Hasina alleged that the white man wants to create an East Timor-like area that includes Mizoram, Manipur, parts of Chattogram, that's Bangladesh, and also an extended part of Myanmar. On the other hand, we know the PLA and its machinations, the palm and five fingers that include Sikkim and Arunachal. The moment this Siliguri corridor, and if there are entities who are wanting to block this off, all of northeast of Bharat gets apportioned between 2 or 3 hegemonistic entities. Can we afford to take this so lightly, or do we need to do something very, very seriously to ensure that our own strategic interests are safeguarded? Because the Chinese are very clearly even engaging with the Bhutanese to try and get into that particular space where that would give us, strategic disadvantage, and the PLA strategic advantage. They are also in Doklam, where they are constructing villages. See, look at multiple points, and we have allowed these borders to be not defined at all, be it with Bangladesh, be it with Myanmar, or be it with Chinese occupied territory. Dr. Ranganathan.
Sorry.
Sushantji, I can't hear you. One second. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I said these borders are very well defined. There's no problem as far as the borders are concerned. The Chinese, of course, don't accept any border which doesn't suit their purpose. But I'll just say two things. One, look, this is going to remain a challenge. So I think we must have our counter moves. It's not as though the Bangladeshis don't have their own chicken necks. And it's not as though, the other countries can just get away and we are going to be babe in the woods and they can just walk in and, take over. And it's not as though the Indian security agencies are not aware of the security vulnerabilities in this region. But I think our biggest problem is going to be the kind of demographic transition which has taken place along the border districts. And that is something that we have called upon ourselves because of our vote bank politics.
Yes, Anandji.
Yeah, I was saying when Sushantji speaks for the first time, he takes away about 30% of what points I was going to make. But when he speaks for the second time, he takes the remaining 70%. So there's hardly anything left for me to say. Be that as it may, I have to think like a computer, Chacha, sorry, to think of new points to make. But I think there are a couple of additions that I can make. of course, I agree with everything Sushant just said. Number one, it's ironic rather that the wheel has turned a full circle. Bangladesh, that used to be Pakistan, is now once again Pakistan, if you know what I mean. This is the situation India is in. And all our neighbors, in a very strange way, are not playing history or geography, but actually playing geometry with us. Pakistan wants to cut us off in a straight line. China wants this string of pearls. And now Bangladesh and other these jihadis want to triangulate us with Myanmar, Nepal and Bangladesh. Be that as it may. The problem is exacerbated. I'll tell you how. Because no Pakistani is a vote bank in India, Anand, as you know. And ORF came out, in fact, I think it was Sushant Paji who came out with this. Then the Bangladesh border is, I think, 17 times more porous than the Pakistan-India border. So the problem out here is Bangladeshis are vote bank in India. In fact, it was Shashi Tharoor who wrote in his book Pax Indica that there might be as many as 20 million illegal Bangladeshis in India. And he, insinuated that they were termites. They have escaped into the Indian woodwork, he said. So every politician cutting across party line agrees that there are Bangladeshi illegal immigrants in India. Now, the problem is so much more dangerous because they're a vote bank as well. And if you have terror outfits operating in a porous border, going and trying to actually cut off this so-called chicken neck, I think one has to stand up, not just take notice, but can I just say, because also because there is no BJP spokesman out here, so I can say it without being condemned. BJP has always used as an excuse that Mamata Banerjee is not allowing BSF this space to operate. You know, they always say this 30 kilometers, Mamata is not allowing us. I'm sorry. This is now beyond the state agreeing to it or not. You go ahead. You seal our border with Bangladesh ASAP. Because if you are worried about India, if you're worried about terror entering us, not just illegal immigrants entering us, you got to do it. Not worry about whether a state is going to allow you this territory or not. You have to do it, Anand.
No, it's not just one has to do it. The other thing is that this entire linking of that, if that slicing of the chicken neck happens, there is Nepal. On that side also we have got all the no man's land being occupied. CNN News 18 has done that story. You talked about Bangladesh. This entire seeping into Indian space and our own shrinking footprint there, Sushantji, how can this be countered? Something radical has to be done for decades on slicing, salami slicing at all ends to be wiped out and for us to reclaim our true territory and boundaries and redefine these boundaries.
Yeah, look, I think that's a rather radical solution which you are advocating right now. But I think what is more important is that, one, let's stop making excuses that the state government is not cooperating. You know, the Indian constitution gives the central government enough powers to direct the state government on a number of issues. And I don't think the state government is going to interfere in many of the things when it comes to national security matters, provided, the steps which are being taken are not politically motivated. So I think let's not make that as an excuse. Number two, I think it's very important. Even though you might try and seal the borders, if you look at the borders, and incidentally that wasn't my study, that was an ORF study, but not by me. But even if you want to seal the borders, you can't seal the borders completely. I think it's not going to be possible, but yes, you can restrict movement. But I think what is very important is that this business that India should not fire at infiltrators coming in from Bangladesh, because these poor guys, they simply cross over, they don't know, they are only smugglers, they're only terrorists who are coming into India. Why is India firing at them? It hurts the Bangladeshi sentiment. If it hurts your sentiment, don't come into India. We haven't asked you to come into India without a visa, right? And I see no reason why the government of India should not give shoot-at-sight orders to people who are crossing over the borders illegally. I think if that is a deterrence that can be created, that will be a good second step to take. And the third step has to be that you have to start identifying people and you have to start throwing them back from where they came. People asked and voted for a separate country in 47. They got another country in 71. I don't think they have any claim whatsoever on what is India today. So that is as Bangladesh is concerned. I think in Nepal there is a bit of grandstanding. It's always been there. But and I'm not forcing much of a problem from Nepal, even to that extent.
The fact is that the entire, if Nepal as a nation allowed its DNA to be changed and we sat watching, Bangladesh as a nation allowed its DNA to be changed and we sat watching. We didn't look at the trends that were happening there at that time. From what their identity was in 1971 to where they see their identity today in 2024. Somewhere we who were supposed to be there, who helped liberate them, did not give them the right ideology to follow or the right idea to follow as a nation. And that also is a reflection of where we had no idea who we are as a nation in this region. And defining that, if you have two entities around us, right next to us, with whom we have the most porous borders, who have ideologically shifted their entire tent poles of existence under our watch, then we are to blame. We are to blame because they are all parts of us. They are cultural extensions of us. Today, geographical boundaries, but there are supposed to be cultural civilization extensions of us and going back to thousands of years. And we've allowed that, all of that to wither away. I've got to take a break. We'll take this conversation forward as we know more details. Anand Ranganathan, Sushant Sareen, thank you very much.